thinking is the ultimate human resource. This is a sentence that comes from a book that everyone on the Geek Pack team read for our team retreat last year. This one, 6 Thinking Hats by Edward De Bono. It's a really interesting book that teaches a different way of thinking. And I wanted to talk about this book here because it can be a really helpful tool to solve problems. There are things I love about it, and there are a few moments I didn't think it quite worked so well, but we'll break it down and I'll go through the hats with a real life example with a very special guest. So stick around. But first, let's talk about the concept of the hats and what they're for. And I'll try to keep this short. The book talks about parallel thinking and it claims to help you make better and faster decisions. Awesome. It does focus on using the hats for meetings, but it can also be used for personal decisions like buying a house or getting a new puppy. More on that later. The idea is that you focus on one hat at a time. And I realize it will help if you actually know what the hats are. So here we go. And I have props. I have these paper hats from our team retreat to help. We'll see if they actually stay in my head. So the first hat is the white hat. This is the neutral one. Let's try that again. So the first hat is the white hat, and this is the neutral one. It keeps you objective, and it's all about facts and figures. This is about things you know are true. No assumptions, no feelings. It's neither negative nor positive. It's simply facts. And then we have the red hat, which is the emotional hat. When you wear the red hat, you don't need to justify anything. This is the moment to use your gut feeling and just spill it out. No explanation necessary. Now, it's important to note that neutral is also a feeling. You may not have a particular sentiment about it, and that's okay too. Now, what I think is probably the easiest hat for most of us is the black hat. This is careful and cautious. This is the devil's advocate hat. I say it's the easiest one because we're argumentative beings, and this is something the book talks about a lot. We're conditioned to disagree. It's like our natural habitat. But it's not a bad thing. It's quite an important thing to think about. It's about what can go wrong, what may not work, and it's meant to protect us from making bad decisions. It's very important that everything stated under the black hat can be backed up with facts. If there are no facts, then it's a feeling, and that's the red hat. Okay, next is the yellow hat, the sunny and positive hat. It's the opposite of the black hat. Here you only focus on what can go right. It's your time to be optimistic and rosy and look at opportunities. Which leads us to the creative hat, the green hat. Here, there is no such thing as a silly idea. Just go crazy. Go as crazy as you want, no judgment. It's highly encouraged to think outside the box and put all your ideas out there, even if they don't make any sense whatsoever. So the reason for that is that even though the original idea may not make a lot of sense at first glance, it can lead to a different way of thinking and eventually lead to an idea that's innovative and that does make sense. Now, last but not least is the blue hat, and this is the organizing hat. The blue hat is the one that kind of leads the show, the one that controls the thinking. It sets the focus, it defines the problem, and it's also the hat that keeps the other hats in line. So if someone says something negative when you're using the yellow hat, the blue hat thinker is responsible to get them back on track. And the blue hat also dictates the order the hats will be used. And that's important because there is no set order for the hats. And you can also go back to the same one if you need to after you've already been to a hat. Now, using the hats during our team retreat was actually really useful and fun, honestly. So before I go into using the hats for my big life-changing decision, I want to point out my takeaways from using this system. Okay, first of all, it worked really well for us when we had a single thing to figure out. The more specific, the better. So as an example, say we need to make 100K in 6 weeks. How do we do that? Along those same lines, it doesn't work so great when the topic is too broad. We tried to use the hats to figure out what our 2024 goals were going to be, and there wasn't a specific problem to solve, so it didn't really work as well for us. We didn't really know where to begin, so we ended up just going in circles for a long time without any real focus. And focusing on one type of thinking at a time is actually quite helpful. The hats kept us on track. It dictated where all of our brain power was going. It's like going through a decision-making journey with a map, if that makes sense. We looked at data, we looked at what has worked and what hasn't worked, and from there, it was easier to come up with different ideas and narrow them down. And lastly, setting a time for each hat is also very helpful. One thing we realized after a while is that we could stay on a hat for hours. There was always something to say. So saying from the start, we have 20 minutes for this hat, it worked really well. If the discussion was still productive, and then we would extend. But at least we had this sort of time guideline to keep us moving. Now, it was our first time using the hats, so it wasn't perfect, and it took us some time to figure out the best way to use them, but I really think towards the end of the retreat, we got much better. And fifth, having actual hats as a reminder worked really well too. We put them on the easel so we all knew what hat we were working on at that time. Now, the moment we've been waiting for, my big decision. Should we get a puppy? I'm actually serious. How could I not be serious in my blue shirt with blue? Seriously though. So we are thinking about getting my dog Blue a little companion, and it's been a long process to decide. So I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to use the hats to decide. So I'll start with the blue hat in order to decide what order we will use the hats. Do you think they'll stay on Blue's head? I'm thinking we go with the white. Whoops. No, you don't want the hat. But it's your hat. No? All right. So I'm thinking we start with the white hat first to lay down all the facts. And then maybe we move on to the yellow to list all the reasons why it's a good idea. And then we'll go black. And then maybe green to come up with all the possible solutions for that black hat thinking. And then last, I would probably come to the red hat to kind of assess how I'm feeling about that final decision. So how does that sound? Let me know in the comments if you might go with a different order. All right, here we go. Okay, so white hat, facts. Dogs cost money. In fact, I Googled it. The average annual cost of a dog is $1,200 to $2,800. Good thing I like you, Blue. Good thing I like you, old man. Okay, what else? Dogs require physical activity. So it's a good thing I love walking, right? Also, dogs shed. They shed a lot. Sheds a lot. Well, most dogs shed. Dogs also, they have to eat and they have to drink, so they do need looking after. A kennel or a dog sitter is necessary if I'm going to be going out of town. Okay, next let's move on to the yellow hat. This is the rosy, this is the positive, this is the optimistic, probably one of my favorite hats. So, dogs are a woman's best friend. Blue always makes me smile and laugh. He keeps me company. I have had Blue since he was 8 weeks old, and he is now 12 and a half. As you can tell, Blue man, Blue, Blue. Do you want, is it time? Ready? Blue, what's this? What's this? I just want him to show you his gray. Blue man, what's this? There it is. He's just a little bit gray. Can you see? Oh, buddy. He's just hungry as well. Okay, so like I said, he keeps me company. He has always been my little companion. Let's see. Dogs are always happy to see you, and they never hold grudges. According to research, dog owners are more likely to live longer. Not gonna lie. Well, I read it on Google, so it must be true, right? And at the end of the day, dogs just make us happier. At least Blue makes me happier. So that was fun, but now it's time to burst that bubble a little bit, and let's have a look at the black hat. Okay, black hat thinking. Why? What's the devil's advocate for getting another dog, getting a puppy? What are those things we need to think about? Let's see. So we travel a lot, and it's not always an option for Blue to come with us. So we'll either have to find a kennel or a dog sitter. Also, we are pretty busy with work. I have a business. My husband has a business. So we're constantly kind of running around. We're always on the go. Will I have time to train the new puppy? Also, dog hair drives me absolutely crazy, especially those times of year when the shedding is just intense and it's everywhere. There we go for black hat. All right, next, let's go to a little green hat thinking and think creatively about how we can alleviate some of those things. So fortunately, we already have a wonderful kennel that we've been using for years. So Blue and the new pup can go there together whenever we're out of town and they can't come with us. And the timing of the new puppy is going to be really important because we need to make sure that there's enough time to train the new puppy before we're traveling or we're away. So that's just something I need to consider as I'm looking for that new puppy. Now, since Blue is pretty well trained, I'm hopeful that the new puppy will learn all the good traits from him, not the bad ones, right, Blue? Not the bad ones, only the good ones. Only the good ones, not the bad ones. Good boy. And with regards to dog hair, I could consider a doodle mix to reduce the shedding. So that's an option. And finally, the red hat, which is, gut feeling and what do we really feel? Nothing to do with facts, nothing to do with anything else, just in my gut, what do we think? And in my gut, I know that at least I am ready for a new puppy. And I honestly believe it will increase the longevity of Blue's life. Don't you think, buddy? He might be a little grumpy at first when we get the new puppy, but I think he's really going to enjoy having company, and it will help him live longer, won't it, buddy? Yes, it will. Okay, that's it. We are going to do it. And I can't wait to see Blue's reaction when he meets his new little buddy. So do you want to see pictures? Let me know in the comments and I can share. Thanks for sticking around, and I hope this way of thinking can be helpful for you too.